Hello everyone, welcome to Study Buzz. This is Nikita and I'm thrilled to share this new video with you to make your verbal section much easier. But before we delve into today's content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us on our Instagram channel and press bell icon to receive important videos updates. You can also follow us on our Instagram channel, which is studybuzz_education, and the other handles as is mentioned on your screen. You can also download our app, which is also given on the screen. Now let's move on to the video. Today we are going to start with a very crucial aspect of reading comprehension. We are going to start with various different kind of questions that you can get in the reading comprehension. The first topic that we are going to take on, the first kind of questions that we are going to take on are going to be the main idea based questions. These are essentially the questions that depend upon you identifying the main idea and then using that to mark the answers. So let's dive into it. So what exactly are main idea based questions? Main idea based questions are the questions that will be formed in various different manners. A lot of different formats can be used to ask for the main idea in reading comprehension. They can ask you what is the essence of this particular passage. They can also ask you for the gist of the passage, for sometimes also summary in the RC is the same kind of question. They can also directly ask you what is the central theme used by the author in that particular passage, or they can directly also ask you for the main idea. What is the main idea of this passage, right? Apart from that, it is also possible that they might ask you some tangentially related questions from the main idea. Essentially, they will be questions which will depend upon the your understanding of the entire passage, like the tone of the passage, or what exactly do you understand can be the continuation of that passage, right? So you can only solve those questions if you know what is the main idea used in that passage, what is the main central theme that is used in that passage, right? Main idea is also called central idea a lot of times, right? So these are just some of the examples in which the questions of main idea can be formed, right? Now, to be able to solve these questions, and also please remember that main idea is not only required for simply solving these direct questions, but it is also extremely necessary to be able to comprehend the passage effectively. If you are not able to comprehend the passage effectively, you will not be able to understand the passage and you will not be able to solve the rest of the questions. Hence, it becomes even more important, right? So let's try and understand what exactly do we mean by main idea. See, the passages that we get in the reading comprehension, they are not written specifically for the purpose of examination, right? Someone is not going to sit there and write passages specifically to give them to you in the examination. They are going to take the passages from some or the other source, be it an article, be it from a book, from a journal, from a magazine, from wherever. They are going to take these things from sources. So essentially, we know that this was written by someone with a purpose in mind, and no matter what the purpose was, it simply boils down to the purpose of communication, right? That is the reason why they wrote those articles in the mass media that you ultimately got in the examination. So communication was the purpose that boiled down to it. Now, communication does not happen randomly. Communication depends upon the message, right? There is a reason why the author has written it. Reason was to perpetuate a message. There was a message that the author wanted to convey to the audience, and for conveying that message, author went through a lot of troubles. They wrote somewhere, like for example, if they wrote about 1,000-word article, right, and you get that in the examination, then that article, entire 1,000 words are not going to be required for that particular message, right? There will be examples used, there will be some base information which you need to know before you are able to understand the main message that the author wishes to convey. There will be parallels drawn, there will be other things which are being used to build up to that message, right? And then there might also be the conclusions or author's own opinions after that message, right? So essentially what I mean is that all of these words are not going to be the message that the author wishes to convey, but inside these words is going to be the message, right? And what we need to do is we need to find that main message, right? So essentially main idea of the passage is the central point or the primary message that the author wishes to convey. It is the essence of the text around which all the information that is given to you revolves. Identifying the main idea also involves recognizing the overall theme and the key points that support it, so that you can easily comprehend it and be accurate with it, right? So essentially main idea is the central point and the primary message. Okay, now let's see how exactly can we identify the main idea. When we talk about identifying the main idea in the examinations, for the purpose of examinations, we need to look for certain things. There are certain things that we can do. First thing obviously is to read carefully. Now just randomly reading things, even if we feel that we are reading it very carefully, is not going to be very helpful, right? We need to look through all of these 1,000 words and then be able to identify that yes, out of these 1,000 words, these 20 words form the main message that we are looking for, right? So how do we do that? How do we know about that? We do that by reading it carefully, and by reading it carefully we can follow these steps. We can first skim through the text. As soon as we look for a passage, as soon as we come across a passage, we will first skim through the passage so that we can get a general sense of the topic. What exactly is the topic or the subject that the passage is about? Is it a political based passage? Like, is it talking about the politics or something else? Is it talking about philosophy, or is it talking about psychology? If we know this, if we are able to understand this, we will be able to figure out in what manner we are supposed to read it, what kind of contextual vocabulary would be used for this, right? These things make a lot of difference. Also, skimming through it, we will be able to figure out the basic tone. Is it the acerbic kind of topic, kind of passage, or is it the encouraging kind of passage? What kind of tone is used, so that we can again pay attention accordingly, right? Our mind setup would be accordingly. Or we can also figure out the type of passage, as in, is it a descriptive one, is it the analytical one? If it is an analytical passage, then usually what happens in them is that basic information will be provided about whatever is being talked about in the first part, and then towards the end there will be an analysis done by the author, right? So we will be able to pay attention accordingly, and we will be able to figure out where to pay more attention to, what to prioritize and what not to, right? So these things can be identified simply by skimming through the passage, by giving it a cursory reading, right? That will also help us save a lot of time. Now once we have figured out these things, then comes the second step. Second step is what? To read thoroughly. Once we are done figuring it out, we will be able to read it thoroughly, pay more attention to the things that we have deemed to be important, right? Paying attention to the links and the connectors which are there, paying attention to the data that we feel is very important to us, right? That will also, all of this will also help us reduce the reading speed, reduce the time that is required, and improve the reading speed, right? So that will be ultimately helpful as well. Now moving on, the second thing that we need to do for finding out the main idea, figuring out the main idea, is to look for repeated themes. Themes or phrases or ideas which are being talked about repeatedly in the passage. If there are four different paragraphs that form one passage, and in each paragraph there is one idea which is repeatedly talked about everywhere, like in each and every paragraph one idea is being repeated, that is most likely to form the main idea, because main idea is nothing but the main message around which everything revolves. So indirectly or directly, written or implicit, it is going to be there in each and every part of the passage, right? Only then it could be the main idea. It has to be present everywhere. Everything in the every information in the passage is somehow related to it, is somehow either building up to it or is a result of it. Hence repeated themes becomes our best tips and tricks that we can use to find out the main idea, right? Then apart from that, what we can also use for our advantage is asking key questions. See, by what I mean by this asking key questions is that sometimes, a lot of times actually, it does happen that we get very confused between two options, right? After we are done with these reading carefully and then repeated themes, checking that, a lot of times it happens that we get confused as to which one out of the two is the correct one, is the main idea. In that case, we can ask ourselves, what exactly is something which is omnipresent everywhere? If I remove it from the passage, will the passage remain same? Because the entire point of that passage was to convey that same message, right? So if that was the main point, if that was the base holding everything together, if I remove it, then it should not remain the same. The meaning, the entire thing should change, the logical structure should change, right? So these kind of questions can be formed, and we can use them for our advantage. Apart from that, it is also extremely important for us to be able to distinguish between main idea and supporting details. See, main idea is the overarching point, right? It is the general theme which is present everywhere. It is not the specifics, it is not the specific detail which is provided as probably examples or evidences to it. It is not the dates, it is not the figures, it is not the name which is provided. Hence, a lot of time we feel that dates and the names, these things are written somewhere in the passage, so they might be extremely important, they might be the things that we're looking for. But in the case of main idea, that is not the case. We are looking for the general theme, we are not looking for the specific details. So we must be able to focus on general themes and not the specifics. I hope this much was clear to you. This is all the things, this is all the concept, this is all the theory that we need to remember for main idea. Rest will be done through practice, and it will get better through practice as well. So let's look through a question so that we can apply the things that we have just learned, and we will be able to identify the main idea and work through it. We will know what to do for our practice. Now this is a previous year question of CAT 22. Okay, I will give you time. Please pause the video, look through this passage and try to understand, try to find the main idea. Then we will discuss this passage, and then we will move on to the question, the actual previous year question that asks for the main idea. So you will be able to understand what exactly are the kind of questions that come in the actual examinations you are preparing for. Please go on. Right, so let's talk about this passage. Now this passage can clearly be seen to be divided into three different paragraphs. First paragraph talks about, here it literally can be seen that it talks about the philosophy of social sciences, and it distinguishes them. It basically introduces the philosophy of social sciences, and then it distinguishes between academic discipline and social institutions, right? And then further, moving further, moving further, it defines the institutions as entities which organize the social action by linking individuals into social structures, right? By linking individuals into social structures. Essentially, the main points that are being talked about, the main information points which are being talked about in this first para, is that there is the philosophy of social sciences, which is both a thought and institution. Then the individuals and institutions are linked into the social structure, as we just talked about. And then we are further moving on to talk about various different kinds of institutions, right? Various different kinds of institutions, and we are dividing them into grown institutions and the institutions which are designed, right? Which are product of conscious attempt, so they are designed. And then we are differentiating them into formal and informal institutions as well. And then finally we are saying that mixture of them is common, they are intertwined, right? Then moving on to the second paragraph, we are basically talking about the culture and tradition, and saying that usually the usual thought is that they are different from institutions. However, according to this author, see, by this point that the view taken here is different, we can conclude that this is not a factual passage, this is rather an opinionated one, right? Author is giving their own opinion, or author is using an alternate opinion here. So they say that the opinion which is usually used is not the case, and culture and traditions are subset of institutions. Then we are also talking about subset of institutions, we are also talking about what kind of differing views exist on what constitutes an institution. And then further towards the end of this particular para, we move on to talk about the institution's purposes as defined by individuals. Institutions themselves have no aims, right? So they are defined by individuals. And then the last one, it could be said that this last one is more or less an example which is used to evidence, used as an evidence for the things which are being talked about till now. So here we have used language and used language as linguistic institution, and then we have stated that it is formative institution, as in it is the fundamental institution. We also talked about it being formal and informal, right? So we went through our entire circle of life kind of thing here. In the first para we had talked about formal and informal, here as well same, something was implied here directly. It is there that language is both formal and informal, as in it is natural and designed. And then we have given examples for that in this one, that human language and AI language, for distinguishing between natural and designed elements. And then we also talked about raising a parallel, that languages have sets, there are sets in the linguistic institutions. And towards the end again we talked about language being able to coordinate social actions, right? Social actions as in individual actions. So everywhere we are talking about individual actions being related to social institutions, right? This could be the main idea, right? This could be related to the main idea. Let's look to the question. Now the question asks, which of the following statement best represents the essence of the passage? Essence of the passage. Essence in Hindi is called sar, right? Essentially we are looking for something, in this case, which directly translates to summary or sum or short, essentially compendium, right? Or what can you extract from this, right? So we're looking for something which can be extracted from the passage as a whole. So we're looking for the main idea, because main idea is something that everything in the passage revolves around, right? So let's look through the options. Let's start from the bottom. It says stock exchange. This says stock exchange and the black market are both market institutions. Now see, we talked about this. This is only being talked about in one part of the passage. This does not relate to everywhere. This is more or less an example as well, which is being used in the passage. So remember, general theme, not the specifics. So this cannot be the answer. Language is a fundamental formal institution of social life and science. This is directly a line which is taken from the passage, and it is also taken from the last paragraph. So it is not related to the entire passage. So again, not related to the entire one, cannot be the main idea, not the general theme. It is usual in social thought to treat culture and tradition as different from institution. This is yet again one of the idea which is taken from the passage, second paragraph. But in the paragraph, it literally says, although it is usual, but the opinion is that is used in the passage is different from this. So this again cannot be the main idea. Now we are, by elimination, we are only left for this one. This has to be the correct answer, but still let's look through it. Institutions are structures that serves to coordinate the actions of individual. This is something which exists in each and every para of the passage, right? Social coordination in the first one, and then social actions, individuals being linked to the social actions of the institutions in the second one, and directly it literally states in the third one that language coordinates social action. So social actions are what? Actions of individuals, right? In the society is made up of individuals. So by direct connotation, we can say that this is something which is existing in each and every part of the passage, directly or impliedly. So this becomes the answer that we are looking for. I hope this makes it easier for you to understand. Hope this was good. All the best. See you next time.